I'm Nigel Green and I'm the CEO of the De Vere Group. FATCA, in my opinion, is fundamentally wrong. So let's have a look at FATCA to start with. But really, when we look at FATCA, it's going to lead us to citizen tax, which is another issue. So let's start with FATCA. So FATCA is reporting. And the Americans decided that they wanted to make sure they were receiving the right tax from their expatriates around the world. So they brought in a reporting system, which means that all banks and financial institutions worldwide have to report back to the US government, to the IRS. In my opinion, it's wrong and it's arrogant. Somebody said it was the United States of arrogance, and I can understand why they would have said that. It's arrogant to think that the rest of the world is going to report to the US everything that happens for them. Billions and maybe even trillions have been spent by financial institutions around the world on a reporting system just for the IRS. In fact, more has been spent on the systems in the US, let alone worldwide, than has been raised in taxes. So it's all right saying they want to raise taxes, but actually it's been very inefficient because they've spent more on it just in the US, let alone the rest of the world, than actually has been raised in taxes. Why is it wrong? Well, if they want to tax their citizens worldwide, they know where they are. So, with Americans it's slightly different. They do a census every year and they can tell you there's 7 million expatriates, American expatriates around the world. They know where they are. So isn't it their job to go for their own people rather than expect other institutions, international institutions, to report for them? If you're married to an American, then you have to fill in paperwork. So let's do the reverse. Let's talk about Donald Trump. Trump is married to a nice lady. Okay, I believe, if my memory is correct, she's Slovenian. So let's assume that I'm right and she's Slovenian. Slovenia decides to bring in its own FATCA. And what it decides to do is it's going to make people report their taxation if they're married to Slovenian ladies. So now Donald Trump would have to report all his financial transactions to Slovenia. Would that be fair? And would Slovenia do it? Of course, the answer is they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't think of it. Well, why then is it right for America to do it? Why should somebody married to an American lady have to report all their financial transactions to the US government? So I think fundamentally as a reporting, it's wrong. Now, is citizen tax right or wrong? So FATCA is reporting, but it's reporting because you are either a citizen of the US or you are married to a citizen of the US. Okay, well, is that right? All right, well, we can argue all day about that one. There are very, very few countries, and obviously South Africa has recently added to potentially the number, where they say you are being taxed because you were born in the country. Okay, you'll see there's a massive anti-FATCA following in Canada. Many people, hundreds, thousands of people that were born in America and actually haven't spent their life there, but they were born in America, so guess what? They've got to report to the US and potentially pay tax in some instances simply because they were born in the US. So you can argue, well, give away your passport. Well, you can give away your passport, and more people are doing that, but there's an exit penalty. So guess what? Just to give away your passport, you've got to pay an enormous amount of tax. So FATCA, in my opinion, is wrong. It hasn't helped the US. It hasn't helped the image of the US. There's a few senators in the US that have been pleased with my stance. They agree. American expatriates are definitely at a disadvantage They find it difficult to open bank accounts, difficult to get mortgages. Why? Because if they try and buy a house or trying to borrow money abroad, then that bank has got to report to the US government as well as they've got to report. So guess what? Nobody wants to lend the money. The US expat loses out because of it. A couple of senators that have supported our case, particularly Jim Jantris is a major player in the US, major politician, has been very supportive, and I've actually joined him in a campaign to try and repeal FATCA. Now, Donald Trump, he said a lot of things. He said a lot of things, and he made a lot of statements. Many I didn't agree with, by the way, but he certainly made a lot of statements. And one of the statements that he made was that he'd review taxation. So he has said publicly that he didn't feel that the tax system was correct. Paul Rand, who's the leader of the Republican Party, has also backed the anti-FATCA stance. He seems to be in favour of repealing FATCA as well. So we're hopeful that if Americans speak up loudly enough, because that's what's going to make the difference ultimately, that FATCA will be repealed. And then if they repeal FATCA and it's unnecessary paperwork, then maybe they'll look at citizen tax as well. And I'm hopeful that countries will encourage people to work abroad, not discourage people. So we're back to globalisation. It should be that American expats are encouraged. They're going and representing their country. They're creating business for America. South African expats are working abroad. They're creating revenue, which often goes back into South Africa. They're often going to return with money. Let's not give them disadvantages. Let's encourage them to represent their country, and let's encourage them to work abroad, and let's realise that globalisation isn't going to stop. It's going to keep going. Expatriates, there's going to be more and more of them. Encourage them. It can only help the world economy.